last few years been the happiest of my life. Here today, I'm standing with you, husband and wife. And I hope and I pray that this day will never end. I found my best friend.
It started when, might have been a year or two after Bede went. You know, Loops and I made that trophy.
Years ahead, I can read in the palm of your hand.
It was written in a big piece of brass. Spirit of Surfing, we named it Spirit of Surfing, and that was the idea, was to keep a contest or a memorial event going every year, compete for a trophy.
I feel the wind in my head as I'm standing with you, my dear, arm in arm, head to head.
And as it was Bede we're talking about, the Spirit of Surfing came into it, you know, because to us, he wasn't just a mate, but he was the ultimate surfer.
Sail across my ocean, sail across my ocean, sail across my ocean. Set your sails, navigate towards me. Baby, let's begin this life journey.
I think it went up to Gisborne for a while. They ran it as part of their contest circuit.
Of course, there was such a lot of us going up there. We said to the Gizzy guys, well, can we bring this trophy up there and you can present it to the highest placing Hawke's Bay guy, because none of us were ever going to win it.
Steve Riley suggested we do a contest of our own.
Full credit to all the guys that have stuck with it and kept it alive.
Sail across my ocean, sail across my ocean, sail across my ocean. Set your sails, navigate towards me. Baby, let's begin this life journey.
You look at any day, it's raining, it's cold, the surf's not that good, but everyone's happy and smiling and that sort of thing.
That's for sure.
Yeah, you can't do that, you
can't do It's always been really well run too, you know. Those guys deserve a lot of credit for putting all that together.
I'd like to thank all of you guys for just helping the younger generation of my family, learning more about my uncle and sharing memories and telling stories with the surfing and all that. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Bede lived like a real free spirit. He didn't care what anyone thought. All he did was exactly what he wanted to do.
He just really loved the sea, and the surf, and that was number one in his life. You could tell.
Nothing seemed to bother the guy, you know.
He paddled out and he says, "How's them rollers, Timo? You know, how's the rollers?" And I'd go, "Real good, Bede," and he'd just turn around and drop it on me, you know, with a big smile on his face. He was full of life, you know. He just lit up. He lit up when he was in the surf. Loved all the young guys, talking to them all.
Yeah, he was a good surfer, eh? You know, he was a man of the times. You know, it was just after the shortboard revolution and
almost a hippie, but not quite.
People get moving, make the most of every given day. People stop assuming that your life is destined for this way.
You know, there'd be rollers out there, let's go. And he'd do a runner from Michelle and he'd come and pick you up and he'd drag you away from your project.
His favourite saying was, "Had any rollers? Had a few rollers?"
Yeah, he was good on a longboard and he's good on a twin fin. Loved his twinny.
We got introduced to Bede, and the first thing I kind of remember about the fellow when we found out that we were both surfers was his eyes lit up. It was the most important thing in his life was to surf.
You could remain anonymous, still get your message across, but hiding your head in the sand won't help you now, Mr. Oblivious.
I'll never forget Bede, sort of bowl of muesli, slurping it down, reading his Tracks magazine, muesli and milk running down his beard sort of thing, you know, laughing, farting, talking about, you know, lunchtime we're going for a surf and we're out surfing out at Blacks, and the owner, the builder, Colin Flood from Napier, he drives past going to the job to meet us on the job and we're waving from out in the lineup.
Drawing a line in the sand, but now that line must be crossed. Rise up in May, stand or else become Mr. Oblivious. I said, rise up in me, stand or else become Mr. Oblivious.
Well, Marama was a special place for him, and just spending
every hour that God sent on the beach.
But he was also quite a deep guy, quite deep. He was into his meditation and stuff like that, and good food, healthy living.
I was at his house one day doing some plumbing, and he wasn't there, and Jade was there. Jade was only like 3, and I said, "Where's your dad?" And he said, "He's climbing that hill over there." And I looked, and it's going, "What the hell is he climbing that hill for?" And he said, "For exercise." Of course.
I can remember one night buzzing over to Havelock North with him, and we were in his Volkswagen, and the Volkswagen didn't have any windscreen. And we all sat there with goggles on, motorbike goggles or whatever they were at the time, driving around in this bloody Volkswagen. It was summer, it was warm, but all got the goggles on. Beat at the wheel,
It was howling on shore, and I wanted to go to Mahi to pick up my car, and no one wanted to go, and Bede took me, even though he knew there wasn't going to be any surf. So he basically drove me up there, looked at the surf, dropped me off at George's garage and said, "Oh, you're right now, eh?" And I said, "Yeah, thanks very much." And so that's the sort of guy he was.
Michelle was sort of like an ultimate surfy wife too, She, I think there was one Christmas up in Mahi, she might have had a baby a week before, one of the boys, and they were up there at Opatama at Blue Bay Motor Camp, camping in the tent, and he's up there chasing the waves.
She was lovely, lovely lady.
Michelle loved Bede a lot.
The ultimate surfer, is what I can say. That's it. Not saying he was perfect, He was a tight bastard. He watched his money. He wouldn't shout very much. He didn't drink much anyway, but.
Feel like the weather, cloudy but fine. Pick up the paper to check out the news. Good morning, mochaccino blues.
He was the ultimate surfer when I was growing up, travelling the world.
And he had wandered through Indonesia. Bede was probably one of the earlier guys that went to Nias.
There's these 2 guys sitting in the Slosman, I think they're taking photos, and I see the guys surfing, and I walk up and I can't remember who spoke first, but Bede was sitting there and there was a rail in front of his face, and he was usual banter about where you're from. I'm more interested in the swell, is it getting bigger, how long's it been there, how many guys, and next thing he stands up and said, "Is that you, Riggsy?" And it was Bede Parker. But Bede had ripped his back up really bad, and he'd come off and been rubbed across the reef on his back, and his back was a mess, eh?
And in the 70s they were surfing cactus in places like that, which is formidable sort of a wave and that, and that was Bede's hot spot. He used to talk about cactus a lot. And he had a real love of West Australia and South Australia.
Him and Mark Jones spent a lot of time at at Cactus in South Australia. In fact, they pulled a guy out of the surf there who was very distressed. He'd just been bitten by a huge white pointer. They loaded him onto a surfboard and managed to take him to Ceduna. Interesting there at J Bay though, because Bede was in a spotted bother and he had to go into Humansdorp, which is the town nearby, to attend court once a month. Bede's little room down the bottom of Atlantis used to open a door and you could just about step out to it to magnitudes.
Coffee's hot, the toast is not. I sit for a while, readjust my smile. I sit and hope that I recognize you. The window seat has got a better view. See my reflection, is that how I look? Catch my dejection about the time it took. I'm moving into the middle age, and tattoos and earrings, are they still okay?
Brendan and I went to the Clairvoyant together on the North Shore in Auckland, and she said, your friend has gone down off Castle Point. They've been hit by a foreign vessel.
The local fishermen, the likes of Rick, were convinced that the boat was off Castle Point.
The position of the container ship,
Yeah,
the Can-Am, that's where they think they last heard from it.
yeah. And at that stage, I think
Could
he
have
was
been
saying
possibly
he
here
was
as well.
going to Wellington. But that's where he would have been if he was on his way to Wellington, you know, about 2 or 3 miles off the coast.
And according to the search and rescue, there were no boats that went up the coast that night. We discovered there were 3 boats that went up the coast that night, and there was one boat in particular which was a German boat called Columbus America. And through the logbook they were able to confirm that, well, they were right on the spot of Castle Point where the Deep Sea 2 had been talking on the radio. We did put divers down on the boat and there were scrapes there, and it was, because it was sort of 3 or 4 months after the event, it was hard to sort of ascertain whether there was any sort of thing. And when you were thinking of a 70-ton boat, you'd think it would do more damage than a couple of scrapes.
Ross, a friend of Brendan's, dived, and I put on my gear and went for a dive too. We went on the hull of this 50,000-ton ship. But so I asked him what were the circumstances that night, and he said it was on autopilot. The ship was on autopilot, and those huge seas coming through.
Going back to the submarine sighting, what happened at Cray Bay when David and 3 others watched the submarine came out of the water, there was great activity on the deck for less than sort of 2 minutes. This thing went back down into the water and disappeared again. And this was the Friday morning after the radio call.
A few years later, I'm reading the paper 10 years afterwards, and it was in the Dominion or one of the, where they had to release the information from the Official Secrets Act, you know, what's been going on. Blow me down, yeah, an Orion had spotted a submarine November 87.
The funny thing about the sub, 2 weeks prior to Bede going missing on the 26th of November 1987, there was a Australian sub that came into Napier Port.
Oh,
And they actually had an open day, and a local farmer went there with his kids to the submarine.
yeah.
Yeah, I won't mention his name, but well, his first name was Dave, and Dave was the one on the Friday the 27th was sitting at the top of his property off Waimarama Beach, where they had a view down around Cray Bay and things like that.
Wow.
And this sub came out of the water. Now he said this sub was the length of a football field. It was huge, and you know, he sort of said there was no mistaking because he had only been on the other sub with his kids just a couple of weeks prior. And
Wow.
yeah, well, the mystery starts from there, mate, because it was reported to the police, who sort of somehow lost the tape, and it went on from there.
I think this is where the possum hunters saw the flares.
A month after the boat had gone down, there were actually flares that were let off that night, and that was seen by 2 rabbiters who were working on Castle Point Station.
Wow.
And once again, part of the mystery is when I spoke to the rabbiters, why didn't you report it to the police? Well, they did. They reported it to Masterton Police, who once again somehow didn't sort of pass the information on. And it wasn't one rabbiter, there was 2 guys working together at different parts of the station that both saw it. They came together to confirm there was a flare. We're pretty convinced that the boat sank then and there.
Well, it's been round and around. The city stirs as the coffee's ground.
I think the spirit of surfing is amongst the guys, you know. Old friends, love of the ocean.
In my humble opinion, I think the Bede Parker Memorial is more about these guys sticking together through thick and thin, because they've all had their own tragedies in life since then. It certainly was the first one, and it was, you know, it was something that knocks everyone for a six at the time, and you know, being so young with a young family and all the rest of it. But the fact that these guys are stuck together and through thick and thin and through ice and snow and sleet and not some nice days, it's just, it's a credit to their brotherhood, I suppose, of surfing.
All the shy Parkers. This is Mr. Parker.
There's a big shark out there.
Oh, yeah.
So what do you think of the Bede Parker competition?
Oh, I think it's fantastic.
Yeah?
I think it shows a lot of dedication and a lot of keen people.
Fold the paper, I've read the news. Good morning, Marcaccino.
Three good kids, mate. I mean, they're bloody nice kids, and yeah, they sort of adored them. It was funny because the middle one, Jarrah, this is the one who died when he was 8. He was 3 at the time when Bede went missing. And it was sort of second or third day, and they must have their suspicions because all the people gathering around and secret meetings and all the rest of it. And, but the third day in, Jarrah came up to me and he says, came up to me and his mother, Michelle, and said to us, "Oh, Dad's not coming home." And we thought, "Oh shit, who's got to him?" And he said, "No, he came to see me last night, and he said he's not coming home." But yeah, so that was another one of those little twists in the story.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's heavy.
Yeah, at 3 years old. Yeah.
He was 1 in a million, that boy. Hearts have been aching and wondering why our brother has gone without saying goodbye. Lost on a ship, a father of 3. Whatever happened to Bede on the sea? The sun keeps on shining and light still goes on. And I guess I'm grateful we sang the same. Same song, whistling away his days in the sun. He lived for peace, health, freedom and fun. Alas, he has gone now and left us behind for other things and peace of mind. The sun keeps on shining and light still goes on. And I guess I'm grateful it's time to say. Same song, same song. Sudden light in your eyes, deep water, hypnotized. But you're ready to check the scene. Hold tight, it's the freedom machine. Oh, freedom machine. Find yourself a guru, it might be alright. Careful of the words that you hear. Just remember, it has to be right. Chosen one has got to be free. Oh, freedom machine. Oh, freedom machine.